community, I don't speak for the black community, but I do think that a lot of black men, they really don't know how to have true, faithful relationships. They think because they have money, because they have power, that they can treat women any kind of way.
Loni Love is saying things.
And that is something we need to work on. We need to work on that. That money and power does not mean that you can just do whatever you want to do.
I think sadly in so many cultures that is the whole machismo thing. Like that goes across the board. But I'm gonna say
it's not across the board, because what is happening is that we are still dealing with the point of slavery, and we are descendants of slavery, and because our families were broken up, we still do not have an idea of how to have together families, because our families were broken up.
Yes,
and until we really
from that perspective, I absolutely
agree. And not just slavery, welfare reform in the 60s and stuff. Like this is a long.
So when you hear, because I want to say, when you hear Joe Budden say, he worked so hard, it's not a bad thing. He's saying, Kevin don't want to be poor no more. Okay? So he's like, let me go out here and make this money, because I don't want to go back to where I was in Philly. So what he was saying was, he was using it as an excuse, and we modernize it and say, but that's not, but you got to understand the whole psychology behind it. That's the reason why he's working so hard, because he don't want to go back to where he came from, because then he'll lose the power.
And then working so hard is affecting his relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it is a
conundrum.
Hey guys, thank you guys for tuning in to CodeBlaque Facts. You guys know that I enjoy you and I welcome any new time viewers. Thank you guys for tuning in. So I kind of want to add some context to what Loni Love was talking about and how they kind of got on the conversation. She was talking about the Kevin Hart special on Netflix and how he talked about his cheating in his relationship. And so that's kind of how Loni Love got on the topic of black men and how black men really don't know how to have true faithfulness in relationships. And so I wanted to first add that particular context, and then I also want to get into some of what she said and kind of break down what she said. So when she made that statement, she goes on and she talked. First of all, let me make this disclaimer. When it comes to cheating, men from all walks of life and different groups and different tax bracket cheat, just like women, right? All men. It's not just a black man thing, and I think that's why so many people were upset. So I just kind of want to make that disclaimer, and I feel like that's kind of obvious. But to kind of break down some of what she said, she went on, after she made her statement, she went on to talk about how black men with power and money. So when I heard power and money, and she used those particular characters to describe the black men that I guess she was talking about and how they cheat, those particular black men, it really made me think about something. And I believe that since they were already talking about Kevin Hart, right? Kevin Hart is a wealthy man. He's a rich man. He's a man of a certain tax bracket. That's the specific type of group of men that she's talking about. So I feel like Loni Love took the black celebrity males that we've heard about in the media and the news, and she took that paintbrush and she threw all the men up in the pot. And when she was specifically talking about or referring to, unknowingly, right, referring to the men that she's seen in media, that we've all seen in media, who we always see getting caught cheating or they doing this over there. She took a paintbrush and just painted black men in general. And when she was truly referring to men that have money and power, so men of means. Okay, a particular type of man in a particular type of tax bracket. And for me, I understood it that, Loni Love herself is in a certain tax bracket. She probably makes between 6 and 7 figures. I don't know, but I'm sure she makes, she makes a little money, over a year or whatever. And so let's just say she makes $1 million, right? So that means that she's in a certain tax bracket. Now, because she's in that tax bracket, she probably dates or desires to date men of means, just like she named, black men with money and power. I would assume she desires to date a man of means, a man who is either in her same tax bracket or at least close to. And with that being said, let's just be honest, guys. We know black men are not checking for Loni Love, particularly black men in her same tax bracket or higher. Let's just be honest. So when we're talking about celebrity men such as Kevin Hart, such as any celebrity black male who makes money and have several options, they have various options of whatever type of woman they want to date and engage. Those men are not checking for your Loni Loves. Physically, Loni Love is, she's overweight. So I don't think she's an ugly woman. She's not an ugly woman to me. Um, she's not, but she's an overweight woman. And that's what, black men with power, money, men of means, men who make 6, 7 figures, who have access to different types of women, they not checking for the Loni Loves. If a black man is making millions of dollars and he has access to women of whichever he chooses, he's not gonna go out and get a Loni Love. And I know that may sound mean, but that's just reality. That, just look around, that's reality. You do not see any man from any race, number one, with a woman, a man who is of a certain tax bracket with a large woman. You just don't see it. So with that being said, the particular men that she was talking about, men in a certain tax bracket, I think, there's a little animosity there. I think that because she's in that same tax bracket and that she has access to men within her same tax bracket and higher because of, maybe her environment or whatever, or the type of money that she makes and the platform that she's on, she has access to these men, but these men are not checking for her. So I feel like, that statement came from that mindset. And then I also want to talk about how she talked about how we are still dealing with slavery. Now, I want to break that down. Because we are dealing with slavery, one thing that I feel like sometimes a lot of people leave out when it comes to slavery is that slavery did a number on both men and women. Slavery messed up both sides, not just one, and it's not one more than the other. Slavery did a number on both sides, not just women and not just men. So when she stated slavery as being one of the reasons why, black men really don't know how to have true faithfulness in relationships, we also have to look at the other side to that. So just like, slavery did a number on our families and broken up our families, it also did a number on the black women. And this is not to deflect from, from the particular topic of black men that she was talking about, but we must keep that together. Because again, we were together in slavery. It wasn't just black men by themselves. And, to be quite honest, black men and black women in slavery didn't learn how to love properly. And out of slavery, we didn't really learn or truly learn how to love properly. And that's the problem. And, again, this is not just a black man or a black woman thing. We truly, as a group of people, did not learn how to truly love each other. We learned a lot of our love language came through struggle love, pain and hurt love. No, we both had it hard. That was an experience we experienced together. Yes, there were different layers and factors, but it was hard. So when people go out of their way to use slavery and then try to break off as if, okay, it affected black men this way, it also affected black women. It gave us a certain mindset about our men. It made us feel a certain type of way about our men, just like it did them. So we can't be dismissive of that point. So I just wanted to add that. And then, Amanda Seales kind of came in and she gave her little side comment about welfare reform. So let's talk about welfare reform. Again, welfare reform is another thing that black people experienced together. That was a time in history where we experienced it together. So on one side, you had the whole independent, offering black families, particularly black women, welfare, basically to replace the man presence in the home. And a lot of women didn't even realize that's what it was doing, because again, they in struggle mode. They're trying to just get up out of, struggling or working for, working for pennies and nickels and whatever. And so because of that, they thought, taking extra help from the government would relieve them of some of those struggles, not knowing that the requirements of that was that you give up the man. So again, we were in that together. So it wasn't just, okay, well, the man wasn't in the house or he left the house because he was cheating. No, there were times where the man was pushed out because, again, this whole independent thing, I don't need a man, the government will help me with my children, mindset came into play. So we have to factor that in as well. So again, we were in that together because I feel like it's very crucial that we understand that, and that it's not a one-sided thing. It's never one-sided, ever. That's how they want us to think, because they want us to be more separated. If you got men on the side, black men on one side of the street, and you got black women on the other side of the street, and we're both going at each other's neck, talking about you did this and you did this, and we're going back and forth, that's what they want. Confusion is what they want. That's why they're winning, right? But that's a whole nother conversation. Okay, so again, I want to go back to like my first point about the particular group of black men that I believe Loni Love was speaking about, and that's the black wealthy men, she said men who have money and power. Okay, so your everyday man don't have money and power. Let's just put that out there. And the men that I believe she was speaking about, because again, they were coming out of the topic of Kevin Hart, men with means and money. We know Kevin Hart is wealthy, okay? Now, she was speaking about celebrity men, and I'm going to tell you why in particular. Because the celebrity men are the men who have the quote-unquote money and power. They're the men who have the options. They're the men who we see in the news or on media when they're cheating or when they have been accused of cheating. And they're the men who we now see in media for, being the most abusive, when we know that's not true. When you compare all races of men, there are men in other groups who are killing their women at higher rates. There are men in other groups who are killing their whole families in higher rates. There are men in other groups who are having mass shootings of men, women, and children in higher rates. But again, when it comes to media, they got to portray black men in a certain light. So we also have to look at that as well. But getting back to the celebrities, I believe she was thinking about these celebrities that we always see in media, having all these babies like Future, and always cheating on women and just doing all kind of crazy stuff. These men stay in the media, but what we leave out is that's only a small percentage of people in general, just black people in general, who make 6 or 7 figures, or like 0.00 whatever percent of the population. So let's just put that out there. So that population of men who she's talking about, these men who they do have access to all types of women, they do have the access and the several options to cheat and be unfaithful. Absolutely. I'm not saying that they're doing that. And I'm not saying that you got to have money to cheat and to have all these different options. But what I am responding to is her exact words. She said men who have power and money. I feel like she was speaking to that population of men. And yeah, that population of men is always in the media, but they represent a small segment in black society, or just in society, period. So I just wanted to add that too. Now, I do agree with what she said when she said that, how slavery played a part in not just black men, but just in how slavery played a part among black people. When we came out of slavery, when I say we, I mean our ancestors. When our ancestors came out of slavery, we didn't know how to properly love each other. And love is learned. And this is why you got a lot of people who learn how to love incorrectly. Okay, you got a lot of black people who out here really don't know how to love because they were not loved right. Their moms and dads didn't love them right. So they out here mimicking what they've seen on television, what they've seen on one of these housewives or basketball wives or rap video. That's what they out here mimicking. Me and my boo, my boyfriend, we were talking about this the other day, how like a lot of kids these days, they truly don't know how to love. You truly don't see, because love is everything is learned. You got to learn how to read, write. You got to learn how to ride a bike, how to use a phone. Everything is learned, and love is something that is learned as well. And if you grow up in a household where all you see is arguing, fussing, and fighting, and nobody knows how to resolve anything, and resolving stuff means that you're fussing and fighting with each other, or you hitting each other, going upside each other's head, calling people bitches and hoes. Excuse my language, you guys. But if that's how you learn how to show love, you learn how to do tough love. Because, see, a lot of us learned how to love in struggle, right? We learn how to love through struggle and in struggle. This is why we see a lot of struggle love. We learn how to love in pain, in hurts, in different hurting experiences in life. And to us, we think that is normal. And a lot of that is not normal. It pains me to see that you have certain men and women who truly think that in order to truly love somebody, you got to go through a bunch of pain and struggle with that person. That's not love. That ain't nothing but struggle love. And I'm not saying that, you don't stick it out with someone if you're married or whatever. You don't stick it out through the hard times. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is, you cussing each other out every weekend and then y'all going back to each other. That's not love. That's toxic. That's a toxic relationship. And through these many different hurtful experiences that we've had with our counterparts, our men, many people did not learn how to love correctly and be in good, healthy relationships, unfortunately. And if you have not seen that presence in your home or growing up, then you're not really going to know how to do that. So that's one of the things that I did, agree with in terms of how we as a people, many of us, not all of us, but we as a people, many of us, we didn't truly learn how to love each other. We didn't truly learn how to, really express that, which runs me into my next topic that I want to bring up before I bring this to a close. How men and women, we express our love differently. Women, a lot of times we can express I'm sorry, we express our love, our pain, and our hurts differently. And a lot of times us as women, we can go publicly and express how we've been hurt, how we've been done wrong. And a lot of people will come to our aid, and a lot of different groups will come in the inbox. Oh, join this group, and oh, this is a good support group. But to be quite honest, men don't have that. They really truly don't. And they're actually shunned and shamed for going on social media expressing their hurt and their pain. And I'll give you a perfect example. A perfect example is Tyrese. Y'all remember when Tyrese, he was just really hurt and in pain about his daughter, and how that whole situation was going with his ex-wife and his daughter, and he got on social media crying, and people shamed him. And it wasn't just men, it was women too. I mean, making fun of him and stuff like that. But you did see how men are just not allowed to show that part of them. And because of that, we don't see the stories of the many women, whether that be celebrity or women who make us in a certain tax bracket. We don't see many of those stories of them cheating, right? We don't see the Jennifer Hudson stories where you have a woman who cheated on her family and broke up her family. We don't see that. And the reason why I would say we don't see it a lot of it. I'm not saying that women do it more. I'm not saying who does it more, but I'm saying we don't see a lot of those stories because, again, if a man got on social media talking about, crying in hurt pain, posting pictures of teardrops coming out his eyes, talking about how his wife did him wrong, and, he would be shamed. He would be shamed, because unfortunately in our society, that's not being a man. A man is supposed to be strong. He's supposed to be able to handle the struggle. He's supposed to be, be he-man. And so it does not present an environment where men feel like they can truly be vulnerable, because it's not masculine. It's not a manly man thing to not to, go before the world and be vulnerable. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out as well. So we don't see a lot of stories, on the other hand, of the cheating and the unfaithfulness. And so I also wanted to, my very last point that I wanted to point out is how men and women, sometimes with men and women, both men and women who are in hurt and who are in pain, I would say men more so. I could be wrong, but I would say men more so. They express their hurt and their pain a lot of times through their penis. So when a man is hurting, he doesn't necessarily run to a woman or his homeboys to be hugged and rocked to sleep. He expresses that a lot of times sexually. And, women do too. Okay? So again, that's another way or another example of how, sometimes not learning how to resolve certain issues as it relate to being vulnerable, being faithful and things like that. That's another thing that's learned. And if you're shamed from doing that, then you're not gonna want to do that. My last point is I want to talk about how it's only in our group that I see this. I only see groups, YouTube channels of whole groups. I mean, you have thousands, hundreds of thousands of people subscribe to a YouTube channel where this channel specifically addresses men do this, men ain't shit, black men ain't shit. And then the opposite, you have channels where you got black men talking about black women ain't shit, and they got hundreds and thousands of subscribers, and they're all over YouTube, right? Where do you see the equivalent in other groups of people? What channels do you see where you have hundreds of thousands of white women getting on social media of any kind? It doesn't matter if it's Facebook, Twitter, whatever, and they are talking shit about their men. Where do you see white men doing that? Now, I'm talking about, I'm not saying where you see, these groups and they get online and they may bring up certain issues among each other. I'm talking about you got people who sit on YouTube, who sit on social media of some kind, and all they talk about how black men ain't shit and black women ain't shit. You do not see the equivalent among white people. You do not see that equivalent among Asians. You do not see that equivalent among Arabs or Latinos. You do not. Can anybody point me to a Latino, white, Asian, or Arab channel where black men or where those men in those groups are sitting up every single day, every week, videos are being made about how their women ain't shit? And then, or send me the opposite of that. Send me the equivalent of their women sitting up online of any kind talking about how the men ain't shit. You do not see that. And it's not that they don't have issues within their own group. It's not that there are certain things that these women or men don't like that each other do within their own group. They just don't do it because they're on code. They value each other enough to not have open public discussions about how their men and women ain't shit. So I wanted to point that out because you got Loni Love. She's on an international platform, right? She's on a TV show that gets international views, whether that be Facebook. I mean, whether that be because you know how these channels, these these shows, they'll have a show on television, but they also have a Facebook channel, a YouTube, so Twitter, so on and so forth. So she's on this international platform, and she's saying these stereotypical things, and this discussion is being had, and it opens up the door. It opens the door for everybody to come in, right, and say, "Up, black men ain't shit. Up, black women ain't shit." When do we ever get to go through these other doors of different groups of people and tell them that they men and women ain't shit? When? Right? Because they don't open up their discussion to us. So I just want you guys to think about that. That's all I have. I hope you guys have a wonderful day or night, depending on where you are. I love you. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the like button, and do not forget to leave a comment. Tell me your thoughts on this. I would love to hear from you guys. Peace.